Welcome to Google Ads Unleashed, the podcast that helps you harness the power of Google Ads. And now your host, Jeremy Young.
Every bigger e-commerce brand runs into this issue at some point. You start with brand search, always converts, right? Brilliant. I've done plenty of episodes, by the way, on brand search. Have a look back at them. But they're the foundation of your ad account in which you build your non-branded shopping, maybe a nice shopping brand and non-brand split, a few PMax campaigns, search, potentially you're even running demand gen. That's amazing. But at some point, you are running into a wall because especially already in the area where you go into a search, you push into cold audiences, your ROAS tanks, and you are buying cheap traffic that unfortunately doesn't convert. How to solve this? I want to tell you in this episode. Welcome back to Google Ads Unleashed, guys. Hope everyone is doing fabulously this Monday. The topic has come up with a few clients again in the last few weeks, and it's something that we've been asked over and over again, which is why I want to give you the mini playbook today on how you can start with advertorials yourself. Why advertorials? Well, you've run your ad account to a certain degree already. You've got your brand search, or maybe not, depending on whether it's viable or not. Plenty of episodes on that. Go and back and listen to them. You've got your shopping campaigns. You've got your maybe search campaigns and a few bottom funnel keywords. But then suddenly you are trying to scale into some keyword pools which have a lot of search volume, usually problem searches, and they simply don't convert. Well, why is that? Because of the following. When you have a funnel, in the traditional sense, there are several stages starting from your brand. So the least amount of search volume that exists are people who are aware of your brand. In fact, the least amount of volume that exists are people who are existing customers, right? So that's sort of the starting point of this inverse pyramid. Then there's search volume of your brand. That is usually very limited and there's not really many people looking for it. This branded volume is generated by all of the sort of push marketing that you do, potentially sometimes even from existing customers, potentially from referrals that existing customers made, etc., right? This is not scalable. There's not really a lot of volume there. The piece of the pie is very small there. You're already efficiently capturing that, and the return on ad spend usually is quite high, although the incrementality is very low. Then you scale up with maybe shopping campaigns, bottom funnel search campaigns into people who are product aware. So there's people searching for your product. They want your product. They want to buy it. They click on shopping ads. They click on search ads and buy directly. That volume is limited as well. The volume that is very high though are of people who are sort of only problem aware but not solution or product aware. Okay, so a classic example of this, for instance, would be let's say you have a product that removes stains from your carpet, pee stains from pets. So you would probably search for something like pet pee stain remover or something like that. I'm sure there's plenty of sort of cleaning products and stuff that do exactly that. Now, what do you think, how much search volume there is, however, for how to get stains out the carpet or something like that, or how to get dog poo stains out the carpet or something like that? Probably 5 to 10x of what I've just said. And the reason for that is that more people who have the problem very often don't actually know the solution. Sometimes there are certain products even where people are only problem aware but they are not solution aware. For instance, I used to have a brand where we used to do only advertorials because they sold supplements for dogs that helped with the joints of dogs. But no one searches for joint supplement for dogs, right? People search for my dog is limping, what do I do? And that is exactly where advertorials come in, because a cold audience who doesn't know the solution and doesn't know your brand and is so far removed from being a customer, if we go up or down on this funnel, they are not ready for a product page because the product page asks for a sale. It doesn't actually earn it. So you need to bridge that gap with pieces of content and with pieces of copy that actually drive from problem awareness over the piece of content to solution awareness. And that is where the advertorials come in. And this is not theory, because what we're thinking in the agency is advertorials are the single biggest lever that we're rolling out across many client accounts. We do this with multiple clients. We're the same play, the same spiel, and it's always our default next step before once the core account is healthy. And we run this sort of scheme exactly bit by bit on all of our accounts, and then we expand into the advertorial sort of area. And the first part, what we do is, well, let's first of all maybe talk about what an advertorial actually is. So just to remind you, I've done 1 or 2 episodes about this already, but an advertorial is a long-form editorial style landing page. It usually looks or reads like an article. And what it usually does, it sells your solution and your product through a story or a bit of education or social proof. Sometimes it can even be like a quiz funnel, right? So something like, let's say you do the pet stain remover thing again, right? The stain remover. You could do a little quiz funnel. Is it your cat? Is it a dog? Is it a poo stain? Is it a pee stain? I don't know, whatever. Do you have this carpet? Do you have this carpet? Boom, here's the solution to your problem, right? It could be even that. And it sells that solution through social proof, through telling a story, and it works better for cold traffic because it does the persuasion that a product page simply can't do. It takes them from what is my problem to I actually want this now and I know this is the solution to my problem before they even hit the store, which does not happen with shopping ads. Okay, because with shopping ads you might look for iPhone 14 aluminium case, and then you find exactly that and boom, you buy, because in your head you already made the decision to buy it and you know the solution. So now you're only looking at sort of USPs and other factors such as price, such as USPs, such as branding, such as delivery times, etc. in order to pull the trigger. You're actually not making other sort of thoughts. You don't have other thoughts in your head such as what is this actually going to solve it? Am I sure this is the right solution, etc., etc. So advertorials are usually not like thin pages with a buy button and that's it. It tries to be a sales page in disguise and tries to be a piece of credibility that gets people from article, from story to committing to make a purchase. Okay. And how we usually set this up is, first of all, we buy a separate domain. Why? Because if an advertorial is on your own website, it loses credibility. It just looks like you basically commit self-adulation. How good am I? Etc., etc. And here's my product that solves your problem. Well, once we want to do that to a certain degree, if it's on the own URL, usually this just does not work. We usually want like a third-party page or a separate URL because it shows that because it gives the impression that it's sort of like an independent journal or something like that that writes about your problem. Okay, it also keeps your website and the funnel clean, and the funnel itself clean, measurable, and it allows a very easy brand and non-brand comparison later. We also want a separate Google Ads account because you don't want to contaminate the core account's data. You want to keep it isolated and then scale later knowing the numbers are real. You usually want to have some sort of funnel tool. Now, I've had people already build certain landing pages like that with Claude Code and similar, and just self-hosted, which is an amazing solution if you can do it because it keeps the loading speed really, really fast. We usually use Funnelish though. We're not really affiliated with them, so there's loads of funnel tools through which you can do this. But Funnelish is pretty straightforward for us. We use it all the time, and it's just a small subscription every month. You can connect the domains really easily, it's a pretty decent tool in order to do the job. And then you want to have that advertorial in the funnel hand off to the main store for checkout or to a sales page. Depends on what you want to do. So this is the setup. You get yourself a different domain, you get yourself a Funnelish account, and then you set up the tracking. Once you have your advertorial written, usually the advertorial that we go for to start with is what we call a comparison advertorial. So we compare our client's product solution with 3 or 4 other competitors on the market, which is, by the way, legal if you do it right. I mean, you see it all the time in the ads. Aldi, for instance, compares their prices to Lidl, or Sainsbury's, always Aldi price matches, etc. So it is allowed to a certain degree, but you just have to be really transparent about the fact that this is a sponsored article and that it's not really an independent complete review. Right, so to go back to the episode that I mentioned, and the reason why I do that is because it supplements your bottom funnel traffic first and then trains the algorithm quite nicely on that, so that you can then start going into other sort of problem searches, something I'm going to go into in a second. But yeah, once you have that, basically what you want, and where most people then go wrong, is the tracking. So the problem, because the problem that you usually have is someone clicks an ad, lands on the advertorial, which is domain A, let's say, and then buys on the store, which we call domain B. And if the tracking's wrong, that sale is invisible because the session is cut off the moment someone clicks away from domain A and lands on domain B, and Google Ads has no idea where that sale has come from and where to attribute it back. So what we usually do is install the same Google Tag Manager across domain A and B, enable cross-domain tracking between the two. Usually you can do this in the conversion linker. You can very simply connect the domains. You can also connect the domains in the Google tag. Set up a purchase conversion that can fire it back into the separate ad account that you've set up for the advertorial, and then that is usually what already does the trick, which is it's really easy to do when you know what you're doing, but there's a lot of pitfalls if you have no idea, and there's a lot of things where it can go wrong. Something that's non-negotiable is to make a test purchase before you actually do this. So make a few test purchases, check that it's working, and then you are good to launch it. Normally what we do is what I said already. We do the comparison advertorial because they are still product and solution searches, which usually convert better. As a result, we see if this kind of style of content actually really works for this brand. It usually does. We start usually on maximize clicks. Yes, it's this traffic strategy, but we try to kickstart the ad account with that when we don't have any conversion data. And it's a deliberate choice. We let that run for a while, and we start with a modest budget to not overspend, usually something like 2 to 3x of the target CPA that we are trying to achieve. After about 30 conversions, we switch to max conversions, and then after about 50, 60 plus conversions, we switch to TROAS or TCPA, depending on what we do, and already start iterating from there on the creative, which is then usually an A/B test, figuring out where we are going wrong. We then also implement tracking to usually understand what the outbound click-through rate is of the advertorial, which is typically the success rate indicator of an advertorial, because it indicates how many people from the advertorial actually land on the sales page. You want to aim for at least 15% for that. What you then do once you have enough traffic is to then start going into ideas for how you can expand into problem searches. What I mean by that is as follows. So we have, for instance, a client who sells a supplement for detoxification, right? So I'm not going to say exactly the word, but basically people will search for this exact product, and we are at a finite volume with that. So we've built a comparison advertorial that compares with 3-4 other detoxification products, and that is now already converting and generating quite a few sales, so that's really nice. But the volume lies in now searches such as, how do I detox from heavy metals, or how do I feel more vital, or something like that, or etc., etc. So basically that is what the volumes that we now want to go into, and now we're building pieces of advertorials that sort of go into that exact area in order to present the product as a solution and build it on top of that, and that's already working as well. So that is then the easy way how we then scale up. So we've got existing search volume for all of the pain points that our products solves. We've got a plan that already in place that we're going to build an advertorial almost every month, 2 or 3 every month, and then scale into that as well. And if you want to know how that works, or if this is interesting, then just get in touch. We actually offer it as a service. younganddigital.marketing is the website. Just book a call with me. Send me a message. jeremy@younganddigital.marketing is the email address. Or you can just find me on LinkedIn, Jeremy Young Google Ads, and I can very happily arrange a call with you there. Hopefully this has been helpful, or given you a little guide on how you start with your first advertorial. Maybe even use AI to get like a bit of a plan in place with the episode that I've just made, and it'll help you also draft your first wireframes, which is really cool. Use a bit of Claude Code. You should be using it anyway, and that'll help you go on the way. This has been Jeremy Young, your personal Google Ads expert, and I wish you a happy and productive week ahead.
Thank you for listening to Google Ads Unleashed. To connect with Jeremy, check him out online at www.younganddigital.marketing. We'll see you next time.